Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, gamers. In today's video, we are going to ignore the fact that I have not uploaded the video for Jinx's Pow Pow yet. We are going to look at something else because I wanted to do something else. In all seriousness though, I got incredibly burnt out working on Jinx. Pow Pow is finished being constructed. It just needs to be primed and painted right now, and then the video will be uploaded soon, so just keep an eye out for that. I just have to suck it up and prime and paint that monster of a prop. If you're interested in making your own Tengen swords, then the blueprints that I put together and all the files related to it are available on my Etsy and on my Ko-fi. If you like what you see here, I definitely recommend that you check out the memberships option on my Ko-fi page. As a monthly member, you will already have access to all of the blueprints, patterns, 3D files, anything else that I release that is like normally for sale will just be released for you as a member. Regardless of how you support though, thank all of you for being here. However, I do have a little bit of a bone to pick. I should put down the weapons as I'm cussing you out. So I was looking at some analytics the other day, and apparently like 96% of you that watch these videos aren't subscribed. That's a little bit of an issue for me. I'm gonna have to ask you to go ahead and subscribe, or else there will be several repercussions. So if you're here and you're not subscribed, please do so. This is your one and only warning. Alright, so first you're going to start off with having the pattern blueprint, the blueprint printed out. And then I went ahead and I just cut off the handle, hilt, all of that. And I traced this onto insulation foam. Insulation foam is a really cool and cheap way to kind of make something that has to be a little bit sturdier. This whole sheet only cost me like $5. It's a pretty small sheet, and I still have some left over. I cut off the bottom of that blueprint, and then I drew on where I was going to have to sand down at an angle. I took it outside and used my hand sander, so you don't really get to see that, but for the inside, like the little curve, I couldn't really fit the hand sander in there, so I had to sand it by hand. That feels, that was weird to say. Anyways, I had to sand it by hand. You could totally sand it by hand if you needed to as well. So then after that, my choice to cover this was with black warbler. Now you don't have to use black warbler. Black warbler, or warbler just in general, is going to be a more expensive option for something you could cover it. What I would use instead of warbler, if I were doing this more on a budget, is I would cover it in 5 to 6 layers of wood glue, the insulation foam, after sanding it, and then I could paint directly on there, or I could glue on top some 2mm EVA foam. Afterwards, I had to drill a hole into the insulation foam. I used just the largest drill bit that I had, and I stuck in the dowel that was kind of going to be the base for the hilt. You're going to need, or is hilt the right word, y'all? I don't know anything about swords, can you tell? Anyways, you're going to need to have a base of some kind in there, otherwise it's going to be floppy, which is why all the tutorials that I've seen have made them with a base of wood. I cut out 3 layers of EVA foam, 2 layers of floor mat, and then 1 layer of some 6mm EVA foam that I just tore up from a project that I probably am never going to finish at this point. And guys, I totally recommend taking apart old projects and reusing some of that foam, especially if you're on a budget, if it's something you don't wear anymore, if it's a failed project, just reuse some of it. We don't have to buy new sheets of everything every single time that we're doing something. Then I cut at an angle on the inside to make kind of like a channel, so that there would be, after I stacked everything together, kind of a hole for the dowel to fit inside of. Afterwards, oh boy, here comes your favorite part. I actually decided to be very generous with this video. I am so kind, so you guys should thank me. I decided that with this video, I was going to leave in dremeling content. Yes, I know how excited everybody has been to finally see me dremel. So here it is on the big screen, me dremeling, and getting this right kind of at the angle that it is in the show or in the manga. It's like not a flat surface. I don't know how to describe it. Whatever. I just dremeled it for a long time. So then for the Suba, what if it's pronounced Tsuba? Like this is the one time the T isn't silent. So then for the Suba, I actually cut it out of some more floor mat, and I dremeled down the bumpy side and added some 4mm EVA foam over there. And I dremeled everything smooth. I forgot to record it, but I did wrap a band of EVA foam around the outside of it just to kind of give it a smooth look. And I super glued on the smaller details, like those points, I guess. Those they're not triangles, 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 4 sides, so I guess it's like a rectangle, but it's like, what's that? Not a pentagram. Damn, I don't really know my shapes. Then to get the handle on, I just covered the dowel in hot glue and put it right on there. I covered the end of it with some Warbler, and that was going to be the gold part. And so I decided to use my airbrush for this. If you don't have an airbrush, you can hand paint it. You can also use spray paint very easily because there aren't too many complicated colors on this one. So I used my airbrush and I covered the whole thing in a layer of black. And then for the edges, I airbrushed on some silver. Now normally I make my airbrush paints, all I do is water down regular acrylic paints. But for metallics or pearl paints, I always buy those because you can't really turn acrylic paints like that into airbrush paints that work properly. So yeah, then I'm just airbrushing on the silver. I wanted it to extend a little bit past like the blade part, I guess, that edge of it. I wanted it to come up just a little bit so that whenever I put the gold on over top of it, it would layer over it nicely and there wouldn't hopefully be any black spots peeking through. So then what I did was I laid down the pattern again. I cut off the next layer of it, so I just had the wavy part, and I covered this whole thing in painter's tape. I kind of wish that I had a thicker masking tape, so I didn't have to use so much, but it's whatever. And then I just drew on kind of, you know, the pattern. I drew it on top of the masking tape. This gave me a guideline for where I was going to cut out. I just used my box cutter. Try not to cut too deep, especially if you don't cover yours in Warbler, because you don't want to cut through the layer that's underneath. You kind of want to, you know, keep it nice. And I will say the insulation foam is pretty strong, it's pretty sturdy, but like you can cut through it. So definitely be careful if you're not using Warbler as you're covering. And then I peeled it off. It came off pretty simply, and then I took it over to the airbrush, and as you can see, I got the look that I wanted with that gold because the gold didn't go all the way down. The silver came up a little bit extra, and it looked really, really nice. The only thing that I wish is that the gold was a little bit more vibrant in photos. It's a little bit difficult to see, and that's frustrating. I try to like make some like fun peel content here, but I did everything out of frame, so really this is actually just a clip of me kind of edging everybody, I guess. And so then I used my Cricut to cut out this vinyl kanji that I had made. It took me forever to find like a kanji that I liked for this. Cricut is a dog shit company. Do not buy a Cricut. I will not say anything nice about Cricut unless they sponsor me. Honestly, it's horrible. And so then I 3D printed these shower curtain rings, but obviously you could just buy shower curtain rings, or you can use an old keychain maybe. Anyways, after making something like Jinx's props, this was a breath of fresh air. Honestly, only included this last little bit so you could see how cute my fit is. Don't forget to subscribe.